नमस्कार दोस्तों, वेलकम टू bizbotany। आज हम पढ़ेंगे पोस्ट फर्टिलाइजेशन इवेंट्स के बारे में। पोस्ट फर्टिलाइजेशन इवेंट्स, व्हाट आर पोस्ट फर्टिलाइजेशन इवेंट्स? मीन्स the events in sexual reproduction, the events in sexual reproduction after the formation of zygote, after the formation of zygote, those events are known as पोस्ट फर्टिलाइजेशन इवेंट्स। जो जाइगोट्स फॉर्मेशन होने के बाद जो भी इवेंट्स होता है ना, उसे हम क्या बोलेंगे? पोस्ट फर्टिलाइजेशन इवेंट्स बोलेंगे। फर्स्ट वन वी हैव अ जाइगोट्स। जाइगोट विल बी फॉर्म्ड इन ऑल ऑर्गेनिजम्स व्हिच आर सेक्सुअली रिप्रोड्यूसिंग। जो भी सेक्सुअली रिप्रोड्यूस करते हैं वो सभी ऑर्गेनिजम्स के अंदर जाइगोट्स फॉर्मेशन होगा। यहाँ पर दो टाइप ऑफ फर्टिलाइजेशन देखने को मिलेंगे। वन इज इंटरनल फर्टिलाइजेशन, एंड external fertilization, in internal fertilization, zygote will be formed inside the body of an organism. Zygotes, in this case, zygotes forming inside the body of an organisms in a internal fertilization. But in this case, in external fertilization, the zygotes is forming in a external medium outside the body of an organisms. The zygote is forming in an external medium. Such type of fertilization we call it as external fertilizations. In lower organisms like fungi and algae, in fungi and algae, the zygote, consider this is a zygote of the algae or fungi. This zygote it forms a thick rigid wall. This thick rigid wall will be formed around the zygotes, which is resistant to the desiccation and damage. This wall is resistant to a desiccation. It is resistant to desiccation and desiccation, nothing but a drought conditions, and damage due to the presence of a thick wall around the zygotes. This thick wall containing zygotes undergo a period of rest. It undergoes some period of rest, and after that, under favorable conditions, these zygotes undergo germination and forms a new organisms, new algal or fungal plants body will be forming. In this case, this type of post fertilization events will be seen in a lower organisms. But in other organisms which have a haploidtic life cycle. Haploidtic life cycle means the organisms which have a haploid stage is dominant in life cycle of an organisms. If the haploid stage is dominant in the life cycle, such type of life cycle are known as haploidtic life cycle. In this case, what happens? The zygotes undergo meiotic division. This one is a zygote. These zygotes undergo meiotic division. It forms a haploid cells. Haploid cells will be forming. Consider these zygotes contain 2n number of chromosomes, and after meiotic divisions, half number of chromosomes will be present in these cells. Okay, after cell divisions, these cells undergo some metamorphosis and they form some spores. The spores germinate. The spores under favorable conditions germinate. It forms a haploid organisms. This type of post-fertilization events will be seen in a haploidtic life cycle containing organisms. This zygote is the vital link which ensure the continuity of life between one generation to the नेक्स्ट जनरेशन। यहाँ पर देखो, एक जनरेशन से दूसरा जनरेशन को जो लिंक लाइफ का कंटिन्यूटी कौन प्रोवाइड कर रहा है? यहाँ पर जाइगोट्स प्रोवाइड कर रहा है। नेक्स्ट इज एम्ब्रियोजेनेसिस। व्हाट इज एम्ब्रियोजेनेसिस? एम्ब्रियोजेनेसिस मीन्स डेवलपमेंट ऑफ embryo from a zygote. the process of development of embryo from a zygote, that process we call it as a embryogenesis. Embryogenesis includes two main important events. One is cell division. It includes cell division. Second, it includes a cell differentiation. Cell differentiation process. This cell division, it usually mitotic cell division will be occur in a zygotes. Consider we have a zygote cell. It undergo a division. It forms a many more cells by a mitotic divisions. This cell divisions helps to increase the number of cells. From cell division, number of cells will be increasing. But by cell differentiation means some modifications will be occur in these dividing cells. They undergo permanent cells. These these divided cells undergo modifications and they differentiate into tissues and organs, and from organs to a new organisms will be formed. Complete new organisms will be formed by a cell differentiation process. Next, we classified animals into two categories, that is oviparous animals and viviparous animals. On the basis of zygotes, the development of zygotes takes place inside or outside the body of an female organisms. We classified the whole animals into oviparous animals and viviparous animals. On the basis of development of zygote takes place either inside or outside the body of female parents. On this basis, we classified whole animals into oviparous animals and viviparous animals. In this case, in oviparous animals, like in reptiles and birds, you can see the fertilized egg forms some calcareous cell around the fertilized egg. You can see some calcareous material will be present around these zygotes. These zygotes lay off these eggs in the outer environment. They lay off egg in a safe places inside the environment. These eggs undergo certain period of incubations. After incubations, the new young one will be lay off from the egg. Young one will be lay off from a egg. In case of oviparous animals, this thing will be happening outside the body of female organisms or female parents. But in this case, in a viviparous animals, what happening? In this case, the development of zygotes takes place inside the body of an female parents. The zygote is forming an embryo. This embryo forms a new organisms or a young one. That young one will be delivered. Through a female parents. This type of organisms or animals, we call them as a viviparous animals. But in cases like in plants, what happens? The zygotes will be formed. We have structure of flowers. This is a structure of a flower which contains male and female reproductive part. These are the male reproductive part, and it also contains other parts like petals, and it also has a sepals. This type of sepals will be present. Okay, these are the sepals. These are petals. This one is a pistil. This one is a anther. This one is a female reproductive part, stigma, style, ovary. Okay, In this case, what happen after fertilization? This female reproductive part contains a ovary. Inside the ovary, we have a ovules. Ovules are present inside the ovary. We have ovules. Inside that ovules, we have eggs. Inside that ovules, we have a egg. After fertilization, what happen in plants? These sepals, petals, and a male reproductive part of the flower, they wither and they fall off. These are all part they wither and fall off. Just you can see the female reproductive part will be present. This female reproductive part will be present, which contains ovules inside the ovary with a zygote. These zygote will converting into a zygotes forming a embryo, and ovule will convert into a seeds. Ovule are converting into a seeds. This complete part we are calling it as a ovary. Ovary forms a fruit. Consider this is a seed. Inside the seeds we have a embryo part. This one is an embryo part, and this is a seed part. Around these seeds you can see the edible part, we call it as a fruit. This is a fruit. Okay, this fruits contains a outermost layer, we call it as a pericarp. This protect the seeds. This helping for protecting a seed. This type of post fertilization will be seen in organisms. This thing will be seen in plants. Thank you.